Hi everyone, if you're struggling not getting success, then this video is for you. Nowadays, there's one truth in life that nobody can change. Your success is in your hands. It is not in the hands of luck. The only person who has the power to decide your future is you. But the question is, do you believe in yourself? Today, we'll talk about it. My name is Muniba Mazari, and I'm a motivational speaker. If you find this video fruitful, then you can appreciate me by like and subscribe and start a new journey with me. Let's start the topic. There comes a moment in everyone's life when silence screams louder than words and the mirror starts asking you questions you've been running away from. Why are you still lying there? Why haven't you healed yet? Why are you waiting to be rescued? And in that raw, fragile moment, you realize no one is coming to save you. It has to be you. You must force yourself to get up, to show up, and to grow up. There comes a moment in your life when you realize that waiting is no longer a strategy. Waiting for someone to understand you. Waiting for someone to fix what's broken. Waiting for a perfect time, a perfect person, or a perfect opportunity. But life, in its most profound way, whispers a truth that is both heartbreaking and liberating. No one is coming to save you. That realization is not meant to shatter your hope. It is meant to awaken your power. The people you thought would be there forever might leave. The support you expected might never arrive. The words you needed to hear might remain unspoken. But even in that silence, there is a voice inside you that refuses to die. A voice that says, "Get up." And not because someone told you to. Not because someone is watching, but because you owe it to yourself. We often wait for rescue because we underestimate the strength within us. We wait because we believe healing requires someone else's hand. But your healing is not in the hands of others. It begins the moment you choose to rise with your own. The truth is, even the strongest people you admire, those who inspire you, were once broken, lost, and alone. They didn't wait to be saved. They became their own rescue. And that is where the transformation begins, not when someone finds you, but when you find yourself. When you stop blaming the world, your past, your circumstances, or the people who hurt you. You begin to take ownership, not just of the pain, but of the future. Because ownership is not about control, it's about choosing not to be a victim of what you did not choose. Every time you get up, even when your soul is tired and your heart is heavy, you're making a decision to rewrite your story. And no, it doesn't have to be perfect. There will be setbacks, relapses, days when you doubt if you've grown at all. But let me tell you this, every time you rise, you are rewriting the narrative of your life from survival to strength. Don't wait for the ideal moment to start. That moment doesn't exist. Start where you are, with what you have, even if all you have is a broken heart and a hopeful spirit. You don't need permission. You don't need applause. You just need to believe that you are enough right now to take the first step, and then the next, and then another. Healing is not a destination. It's a choice you make every single day to rise again. Some people will never understand your journey, and that's okay. You're not living for their understanding. You're living for your freedom, for your peace, for your purpose. This is not about proving anyone wrong. It's about proving to yourself that you were never helpless. You are simply waiting to remember who you are. Yes, it will be hard. Yes, it will be lonely at times, but in that silence, in that sacred space where no one claps, where no one cheers, you'll meet the most powerful version of yourself. The version that doesn't rely on external strength, but draws from an internal well that never runs dry. That is your power. That is your light. And that light doesn't come from being saved. It comes from saving yourself. So when life knocks you down, and don't look around hoping someone will lift you. Look within. There is a fighter in you that the world hasn't seen yet. There is a warrior in your silence, a storm in your stillness. And every time you choose to rise, you tell the world, I am not done. You remind yourself, I am not broken. I am becoming. That is where real freedom begins. There is something profoundly courageous about getting up when everything inside you is begging to stay down. When your body is tired, your mind is overwhelmed, and your heart feels like it's been shattered into pieces too small to gather. It takes a different kind of strength to rise. Not the strength that comes from muscles or motivation, but the quiet, invisible strength that grows in the dark, when no one is clapping, when no one is watching, and when nothing seems to be changing. That's the kind of strength that transforms you. Getting up, especially when it hurts, is not about pretending you're okay. It's not about putting on a brave face or forcing a smile. It's about honoring the pain, but refusing to let it define your path. Pain is real, and it is valid, but it is not the end of your story unless you let it be. You have the ability to rise, not because the pain disappears, but because you choose to stand even while it lingers. Some days you will wake up and feel like gravity has doubled its grip on you. The weight of everything you've carried, the disappointments, the heartbreaks, the moments of failure, they all come rushing back. You might lie there and think, what's the point? And that's when the moment of truth arrives. That's when you make the decision to either stay there, paralyzed by what hurt you, or to rise, even if your legs shake beneath you. The truth is, healing doesn't always feel like progress. Sometimes, healing feels like dragging yourself through the same struggle, the same grief, the same self-doubt. But don't be fooled. Every time you get up, you are taking back your power. Every time you rise after falling, you're building something unshakable inside of you. It's not about how quickly you get back up. It's about the fact that you do. And you won't always have support. You won't always have people around you who understand your journey. That's okay. You weren't born to be understood by everyone. You were born to become someone you can be proud of. Sometimes the climb will be lonely. But in that solitude, you will discover the kind of resilience that no one can give you and no one can take away. You will meet the version of yourself who doesn't just survive, but learns how to live fully, even with scars. There will be mornings when getting out of bed feels like lifting a mountain. There will be nights when your thoughts keep circling back to the pain you've buried deep inside. But even then, force yourself to get up, not for perfection, not for performance, but for progress. For the chance to live one more day as someone who refuses to give up. What if your strength isn't measured by how loud you speak, but by how quietly you keep showing up? What if your healing doesn't look like joy yet, but simply like movement? Slow, sacred movement in the direction of life. That's enough. That's more than enough. That's everything. You were not made to lie in the ruins of what once was. You were not created to surrender to sorrow. You were made to rise, not without pain, but through it. Not without fear, but beyond it. The courage to get up when it hurts isn't about winning battles. It's about winning yourself back. Every morning you get up, despite the ache, despite the memories, despite the heaviness, you are proving that you are not your pain. You are the person who carries it with grace and still chooses to move forward. Let the pain be there, but don't let it lead you. Let it teach you, shape you, strengthen you, but never let it convince you that you can't rise again, because you can, you already have, and that makes you unstoppable. There's a quiet power in simply showing up, not when it's convenient, not when everything is perfect, but especially when it feels like everything is falling apart. The world often teaches us to wait until we feel ready, confident, healed, or certain. But life doesn't reward perfection, it rewards presence. And sometimes the most powerful thing you can do is to just show up as you are, with what you have, and trust that it's enough. You don't need to be seen by everyone to make a difference. You don't need validation to be valuable. You don't need a stage to live a life of purpose. You just need to show up. Show up when it's hard. Show up when your heart is heavy. Show up when you're filled with doubt. Because showing up isn't about how loud your actions are, it's about how consistent your courage is. Some of the most meaningful progress happens behind closed doors, away from the spotlight. No applause, no cheers, just you facing yourself, choosing to keep going when no one is watching. That is the foundation of real growth. That is where transformation takes root, in the discipline to rise, the decision to keep going, and the courage to not give up. We often think our value is tied to recognition, that unless someone sees our effort, it doesn't count. But that couldn't be further from the truth. The seed doesn't ask for an audience before it breaks through the soil. It grows in silence, in the dark, where no one sees. And so do you. Every time you get up, get dressed, and do the work, whether physically, emotionally, or spiritually, you are planting something sacred within you. It might not bloom today, it might not be obvious tomorrow, but one day, your consistency will become your breakthrough. You don't need to fake joy to be strong. You don't need to have all the answers to be worthy. Some days, showing up will simply look like taking a shower, making your bed, or putting one foot in front of the other. And that is still strength. That is still forward motion. Don't underestimate the power of those small victories. They're not small. They're silent rebellions against giving up. You're not required to be the loudest voice in the room. You don't need to prove yourself to anyone. When you show up for your own healing, for your own progress, you are already doing something extraordinary. It takes bravery to continue walking when the path is uncertain. It takes strength to keep believing when you've been disappointed. But Showing up means you haven't let your past decide your future. It means you are still willing to try, and that willingness is everything. Every time you show up, you are sending a message to your soul. I am not quitting. You're telling the darkness it doesn't get to win. You're reminding your fears that they're not in control. Even when your knees tremble and your voice shakes, the fact that you're still here is proof of your power. Your presence is your protest. Your effort is your evidence. You don't have to be seen to be significant. The world may never know what battles you're fighting quietly, but you know. And that's enough. You know the weight you carry. You know the resilience it takes to keep waking up, to keep choosing hope, to keep building a future from broken pieces. So even if no one claps, even if no one notices, show up anyway. One day the silence will make sense. One day the seeds you planted will bloom. And when they do, you'll look back and realize it wasn't the applause that shaped you. It was the quiet decision made over and over again to keep going, to keep showing up. And in that consistency, you became unstoppable. Growth doesn't happen in comfort. It happens in the fire, in the breaking, in the uncertain moments when you have to choose between who you've been and who you are becoming. The process is never pretty. It's not meant to be, because becoming more requires letting go of what no longer serves you, and sometimes that means facing the very parts of yourself that you've spent years trying to ignore. It's easy to talk about growth when things are going well, when the sun is shining and the path feels smooth. But real growth, the kind that shifts your life from survival to significance, often begins in darkness. It starts when life challenges your identity, your beliefs, your expectations. When everything familiar is stripped away and you're left with the question, who am I now? That's when you begin to grow. Not when you have all the answers, but when you start asking the right questions. You stop chasing validation and start seeking truth. You stop pretending to be who the world expects you to be and begin becoming who your soul has always known you were. That's not weakness. That's power. To unlearn, to shed, to break patterns that kept you small. That is how you rise. But let's be honest, growth is uncomfortable. It demands discomfort, because comfort is where dreams go to die. When you stay in places that no longer challenge you, you slowly start to shrink. Your voice gets quieter, your dreams get dimmer, and your potential remains buried under layers of fear, guilt, and complacency. Growth demands a different kind of courage. The courage to leave behind the familiar in pursuit of the extraordinary. People will question your change. They'll say, "You've changed," as if it's an insult, but let them say it. Growth requires change. You're not meant to remain the same version of yourself forever. You're not here to live a recycled life. You are evolving. You are learning, you are becoming, and sometimes that journey means outgrowing places, people, and even past versions of yourself. Growth also means holding yourself accountable. It's not just about becoming better for others, it's about becoming better for yourself. You begin to recognize the role you played in your own limitations, and instead of blaming the world, you take responsibility. You say, I won't carry this bitterness anymore. You say, I'm ready to heal this wound, not hide it. You stop waiting for someone else to come and fix you, and you become the answer you've been praying for. And it hurts. Not in a dramatic, theatrical way, but in a deeply human way. It hurts to let go of old identities. It hurts to face your fears. It hurts to admit that the version of yourself you once celebrated no longer serves where you are going. But in that pain, there's also purpose. Because every step you take outside your comfort zone is one step closer to the life you were meant to live. Not the life that was handed to you, but the one you chose. The most powerful version of you is waiting on the other side of fear. Not the fear you show others, but the fear you whisper to yourself at night. The fear that tells you you're not enough, that no one will understand, that you'll fail. But growth requires you to move forward anyway. Even with fear in your chest, doubt in your mind, and uncertainty in your steps, you keep going. That's how change is built. Brick by brick, choice by choice, day by day. And one day, without even realizing it, you'll look back and see how far you've come. Not because everything got easier, but because you got stronger. Because you stopped waiting for life to be perfect and you started living with purpose. That's the essence of growth. It's not about becoming someone else. It's about coming home to who you really are and having the courage to live from that place every single day. There comes a moment in every person's life when silence becomes sacred. Not the silence of weakness or passivity, but the silence of strength. The kind of silence that isn't empty, but full of intention. Full of clarity, full of awareness, because when you stop trying to prove your worth to others, when you stop chasing after validation, you begin to understand that silence can be your greatest power. In a world that's constantly screaming for attention, sometimes the most profound thing you can do is choose to stay quiet and let your actions speak for you. You don't need to announce every move you make. Growth doesn't require an audience. Healing doesn't need a performance. True transformation is internal. It's the way your energy shifts. It's the way your eyes see more clearly. It's the way you no longer feel the urge to explain yourself to those committed to misunderstanding you. There is dignity in that silence. There is power in restraint, because not everyone deserves access to your process. Not everyone has earned the right to witness your becoming. Sometimes the reason you feel drained isn't because you're doing too much, it's because you're giving too much to the wrong spaces. You're explaining yourself to people who don't even listen. You're sharing your heart